Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, get on over here, you sexy beast. Welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And today we are going to do a Rolls Blade Rank video on the Demko AD20.5 and all of its plasticky Oz 10 goodness, so that you can quantify exactly how much I like or dislike this knife. Now, if you don't know what the Rolls Blade Rank is, go ahead and check out the video in the description below that goes over exactly how this works, what the scoring is like, what's a good score, what's a bad score, is it Grail or is it garbage? Let's find out. But before we do that, we need to take it back a notch. We need to go back in time to the very last video, the Spyderco Civil War between the Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Smock. They went head to head, and I did this exact scoring system on both of these knives. So we're going to highlight a comment from one of our viewers so that we can give you some props, give you some airtime as a way of saying thank you. So let's go ahead and check out what the comment section had to say. This comment comes from Marcos Gamma. Marcos says, you could be one of the Buffer brothers. He's referring to my intro on that video where I basically impersonated one of the Buffer brothers, and I did a terrible job. Thank you, Marcos. If I am one of the long lost Buffer brothers, I'm probably like the Costco Kirkland brand version. Thank you. That made my day. All right, guys. So without further ado, we've got a blade rank to get into. I'm excited to show you how it's going to work with the Demko AD20.5. Let's go. Alrighty, are you ready? I am ready. Let's hop in to the Rolls Blade Rank for the Demko AD20.5. Man, you know what? This is actually one of those knives that made me come up with the idea of the Rolls Blade Rank to begin with, because I could say I don't like this knife, but it's hard to quantify that. What does that mean? How does it rank against other knives, especially in the similar price range? Well, today I want everyone to understand that all of these ranks that I'm giving out are going to be weighed against its price. And the reason why it has to be weighed against its price is because there are other knives in this price range. And in fact, I will be doing all of my blade ranks this way, so stay tuned for more, especially if you end up liking this one. And if you do like this one, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when I come out with more, and I also add more to the leaderboard. Right now, I'm really excited to get into this, so let's do it. As you might know, there are 5 categories, and the first category is materials. Let's talk about these materials, huh? This is an Oz 10A blade. Now, Oz 10A is annealed Oz 10. It's not just Oz 10 or Oz 8. It is pretty much compared against 440C or VG10. Very similar compositions, very similar performance. And so that's what you're going to see. For the handle scales, you're looking at Grivery. Grivery, if in case you didn't know, is considered a high performance plastic, as opposed to something like, for example, G10. G10 is a ton of different fiberglass layers that have been highly compressed together. They've been soaked and pressed together. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that G10 is superior when it comes to temperature resistance as well as durability. So this is plastic. G10 is not plastic. Now you know. So it's got steel pocket clip, and it's got steel liners and a steel lock. That's pretty much it. Those are the materials. Here's what I mean by that. Budget, extreme budget, and budget. There's nothing titanium on here. There's nothing that screams, you know, $200 or $100 plus. These are all budget materials. So budget materials get a budget score. I am going to give this 4 out of 10 on materials, because remember, we are weighing it against its price of $150. Next, we've got ergonomics. Ergonomics is, how does it feel in the hand? How comfortable is it? I'll start off with a positive. I absolutely love this half finger choil right here because it allows you to get a nice pinch grip between the finger choil and between that jimping that's at the spine of the blade. So that's nice. Good control right there. You know what's not nice is the fact that these handle scales are slim. Okay, they're slim, and then it has a wide profile. That makes it kind of uncomfortable, because if you really want to bear down on this and get some hard use, which a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to use that as my beater, and I'll have a 3V version with titanium scales as my fidget toy. Well, the problem is that when we're talking about the ergonomics, slim scales plus wide profile plus slippery grivery equals something that's harder to hold on to. So especially if you're going to choke up on this, you have to really bear down. You have to bear down to get the meat of your palm into the handle scale, which also causes you to run into this, what would you call that? A gooseneck pocket clip, a Spyderco wannabe clip? I don't know, but Spyderco makes one that looks almost identical. So yeah, ergonomics. The more you have to bear down on it, the more you feel the pocket clip, and the more you're going to feel this jimping on the spine of the blade. That can be uncomfortable, because if you are using this and you have to put that much pressure on it, you actually get less control because you're spending more of your energy bearing down than you are actually controlling the movement of this blade. And on top of that, it's just not easy to hold on to. You feel the pocket clip, you feel the jimping, you feel everything. And some people have even reported issues with the lock when they bear down on this. I haven't, but some people have. So for that reason, it makes it a bit more dangerous, a bit less useful, and it kind of defeats the purpose. For ergonomics, it gets a 5. Now, we have to start getting into the good stuff. And believe me when I say there is good stuff about this knife. Let's talk about the fidget factor. This is the main reason why people buy this knife. So the fidget factor on this is definitely good. It has a deployment hole, or shall I say a deployment slot, and it's got a thumb stud. Now, personally, I think that this thumb stud should go. It gets in the cutting path, and it also makes it harder to use this deployment hole. And so, yeah, it's very fidgety, especially with the shark lock. That's what the shark lock was really designed for. I will never say anything bad about Andrew Demko when it comes to his design of knife locks. He is the man. He is the Michael Jordan of knife locks. Let's call a spade a spade. His knife locks are good. I think that one of the few designers out there that could really rival Andrew Demko would be Grant and Gavin Hawk. But let's not talk about them because I can't afford their knives, even though I wish I could. So yeah, his knife locks are amazing. I have a little bit of an issue with his knife lock, however, and that is the knife locks are supposed to be keeping you safe. However, because this one is based on spring tension, this knife can and will come back to bite you, especially if you're not used to this mechanism. I cut myself with this knife shortly after I bought it because when I bought it, the blade wasn't sharp. And so I sharpened it and I put a good edge on there. And then I was fidgeting with it because that's what people do when they buy this. And the spring caused the knife to come back and bite me a couple times. Now, yes, that is my fault, but I'm going to mention that it does create a less safe environment for fidgeting until you get used to it, because it's really hard to expect a spring that you're not used to. That tension is something that you have to get used to, and because of that, the knife lock is just a little bit less safe. It still gets a very high and respectable score. That score is 8. Now, we're on to the very last category, category number 5. Category number 5 has to do with fit and finish. So, fit and finish on this blade. It's not great, okay? Like, yes, it is pretty much centered. I would actually argue that it's not entirely centered. There is a bit of wiggle room in there. You know, like on mine, it's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot at all. I definitely have more in like my Microtex, but this isn't an out the front knife, so there's a little bit of wiggle. The big problem for me has to come with this pocket clip and the fact that the blade wasn't sharp from the factory. What is the purpose of a knife? What is the purpose of a knife? The purpose of a knife is to cut. And I'll tell you what, if you have to resharpen a blade purely because the manufacturer didn't do a good job, it makes you wonder what else they didn't do a good job with. Where else did they cut corners? Yes, pun intended. Because if a knife doesn't fulfill its function, what is it? I'll tell you what this one is. If it doesn't cut, but it's a fidget spinner that costs $150. So yeah, fit and finish gets a 5. Now I know. Some people out there are going to be like,
well, I got mine and mine was sharp.
And other people are like, no, Rolls, you're right. Mine came in dull. I got both sets of comments on my previous video. And so at $150, here's my problem with that. Fit and finish, part of fit and finish is consistency. And the higher the price tag goes, the better the fit and finish you expect. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But at that price point, you need consistency. You can't just send out your knives sharp to the knife reviewers that you gave this knife to for free. I spent my own cold, hard-earned cash on this knife, just like you will if you want one of these, or just like you did if you bought one of these. So just like you, I have expectations when I get it in the mail and I pay $150. If it's a knife, it better be sharp. And if it's not, I'm going to complain about it on YouTube. But listen, you add up all those scores. We've got materials at a 4. We got ergos at a 5. We got fidget and lock at 8 apiece. And we've got fit and finish at a 5. That comes in at a total of 30. Now 30, if you look at my knife scale, between 21 and 30 is what is considered a low recommend. Low recommend means that I can absolutely recommend this knife. Who could I recommend it to? Someone that can't find or / afford a full-size Demko AD20. I can recommend this to someone that doesn't really need a knife to be a knife and they just want something they can fidget and, occasionally open Amazon packages. I can recommend this to someone that for some reason is tired of watching my videos about Spydercos. I can recommend this to someone who's like me and wants to buy this knife because it represents something different. If you're tired of liner locks and frame locks and you're not interested in Spyderco products, this could very well be the knife for you. But in lieu of that, in lieu of those recommendations, I wouldn't buy this over other knives. If you're a knife collector, you know that you have to make your money go as far as possible because if you're like me, chances are you don't have just one knife you want to buy for your collection. You probably have a handful at least. Let me know in the comments section down below what knives are on your knife list. And if you agree with me that you can't just go out and buy everything, that you have to think about your purchases, hit that subscribe button. But guess what, guys? This is just my opinion. One of the things that I love about the Rolls Blade Rank is my rule where at the end of the year, I will make a poll available to the community. And I will give you the opportunity to vote on whether or not this score is accurate. And so be it. If the community says I'm wrong, I'll hang up the old score, give it the new score, and call it a day. But I'm interested. What are your thoughts? Do you like this ranking system? Do you like the idea of being able to quantify? We'll do that Italian gesture again. Do you like the idea of being able to quantify? Okay, I'm terrible. I appreciate everyone for watching this far. If you made it this far, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.